In today's video, signs you're in a caloric deficit. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com. In today's video, I got a great question on my Instagram direct message. So first of all, if you enjoy this type of content around how to lose fat, how to build muscle, how to build the physique of your dreams, hit subscribe. It's what I love to do here. And if you want to ask me a question directly, go right here on the screen to my Instagram, send me a direct message. It's where I get my inspiration for my questions. And oftentimes you send me great question, guys, that makes me actually ask myself the same question. So this was actually a good one. I don't think I've ever answered this question before. How do you know if you're in a caloric deficit? What are some signs? You know, as a coach, I have an update process. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on how you can tell you're in a caloric deficit. And also with my experience, I'll try to put some clips on here. I've gone through various phases of building and dieting. I've gotten shredded many times. Last being 2018, and I'm getting ready to diet right now. I've actually been losing weight right now. And so there are signs I'm telling myself right now that I'm like, yep, it's working. You're in a deficit. So what are those signs? Okay, the obvious first answer for how you know you're in a caloric deficit is that your hunger increases, okay? Because when you put yourself in a caloric deficit, what typically happens is we switch food sources to food sources that don't have as many calories. And then what does that do? That causes us to actually notice, wow, we're a little bit more hungrier between meals. Because most of us, if we're not tracking calories or we're not in a deficit, we eat to satiety or we eat until we're full. So typically when you start to eat smaller meals, what happens is you get hungry a little bit sooner. You might wake up hungry. You might go to bed a little bit hungry. And actually for someone who's in a fat loss phase, I find this to be very helpful. In fact, when I'm dieting down to get shredded, if I'm not hungry throughout the day, I feel like something's wrong. So you start to get this weird psychological attachment to actually being hungry. The next sign for me that you're in a caloric deficit as a coach is that we're seeing changes in body composition. Now, this can often be associated with changes on the scale, but maybe not, because what happens if you're new to lifting is that you can actually put on muscle at the same time as you're losing body fat. So what do I mean by changes in body composition? Well, we've been wearing our clothes for years and years. And what typically happens is you'll start to notice that clothes fit a little bit differently, right? Your pants might be a little bit looser. Your shirts might be a little bit looser. You might notice a little change around the waist. Typically, when you're overweight, you start to lose waist for men from the lower back, for women from the hips and thighs. But either way, you're gonna notice some changes in your clothing. You also might notice a slight difference in the mirror. You might walk by the mirror one day and say, something looks a little bit different, and you don't think much of it, but then you'll realize within a few days that it's still there, and that is in fact a change. So how do you tell if you're in a caloric deficit? First way is you're gonna be hungry. Second way is you're gonna notice some changes in body composition. So that will lead me to my final tip on how to tell if you're in a caloric deficit. And this is without a doubt the one that I was the slowest to adopt. And not until I decided to do a bodybuilding competition did I start taking pictures of myself, and I was simply amazed. You see, for years, I would go through phases where I wanted to get leaner and I wanted to get more muscular, but I never documented it. And lo and behold, my first contest prep, when I dieted, I probably lost 15 pounds, and I didn't think I had changed that much. Because you see, you only see yourself from the front. When you look in the mirror, you see the front. No matter how hard you try to see your backside, you're not comparing it very well. But when I started taking pictures, front, side, and back, hitting multiple poses and comparing them, the 15 pounds that I lost, I saw it all. I saw it change drastically. I could see more detail in my back. I could see more detail in my legs. I could see more detail throughout my body. However, it's hard to perceive these changes because they're so slow, because you're seeing them almost daily, especially when we see ourselves. Another great way to tell if you're in a caloric deficit over time is if people start commenting, hey, are you in a diet? Hey, are you losing weight? There's a reason for third-party comments, okay? Those three things are really the crux of how I tell if somebody's in a caloric deficit. I also like to use measurements as a coach. You know, I'll measure things like waist, thighs, chest, things like this, because you will see some changes there. But pictures, weight, clothing, these are all just great indicators. And if you have no idea where to start, if you go to ProPhysique.com, right on my main page, I have a free calorie calculator. All you have to do is plug in some information. It'll give you some numbers to follow. And you can follow those for a few days or a few weeks and see if you're making progress. It even gives you numbers for building, for cutting aggressively. All right, guys. And I also have some free beginner's guides for how to get into nutrition, how to get into training. It even includes how to choose a gym, basic things like that. So I'll put the links for that down below, guys. And as always, I'll talk to you tomorrow.